Hello and welcome, I am Arumba. Thank you for joining me. We're on part 2 of Let's Play the tutorial for EU4. This time we're going to do the advanced tutorial, which will cover advanced gameplay. It's going to go through the interface and explain what everything is about and why it's important. We're also going to cover map modes and trade. This chapter will go through the interface and explain what the interface does. Ducats are one of the primary resources and are used to pay for everything from unit recruitment to building constructions. That's your number here. 115, not bad. Manpower is an important resource that puts a limit on how many soldiers your nation can have. The manpower cap represents 10 years of manpower. Recruiting a regiment will cost 1,000 manpower per regiment. Reinforcing armies that have taken casualties in war will also drain your manpower. So, I looked into this a little bit. When it says it represents 10 years of manpower, it's basically saying that if you don't do anything with your manpower over 10 years, you're going to cap out at the maximum. It reinforces at a rate of, well, 10 years at 12 months per year would be 120, so a little bit less than 1% of the cap per month. Stability represents how stable your nation is. Stability is connected to revolt risk, tax income, global trade power, and more. Stability can be increased in the Stability and Expansions tab and costs administrative power. Stability can be lost through random events, breaking truces and changing state religion, or having your ruler die in combat. Now it doesn't go into much more detail than that, so let's just take a quick peek at more if we can. You can see here that right now we are at 3 stability. There is a cap of positive 3 stability and negative 3 stability. You can't go higher or lower than that. So it's not quite like EU3 where you can just keep on investing in it over time. Prestige is gained by winning battles, wars, or through random events. Prestige gives your troops increased morale, legitimacy, and better relations over time. Right now we have 8.93. We're losing some due to decay, and at the bottom in green it lists the bonuses that we get for having positive prestige. Only republics are affected by Republican tradition, and it primarily reduces national revolt risk. Republican tradition is lost by keeping the same ruler for several terms, and is gained slowly every year. Low Republican tradition is also associated with an increase in stability cost. Now, we're playing as Venice in this part of the tutorial. It didn't really explain that, at least not that I saw, but that's why we're talking about tradition now versus ruler legitimacy, which we'll talk about right now. Only monarchs are affected by legitimacy, and it represents how legitimate the rule of your monarch is considered. Legitimacy affects revolt risk, religious tolerance, and diplomatic reputation. So if you're playing as a republic like Venice, then you're going to have Republican tradition. If you're playing as a feudal ruler, you're going to have the ruler legitimacy score. They both kind of affect the same thing, but it's just a different method. The most notable thing that I've seen is that republics can't do marriages. They cannot request a they cannot request a royal marriage because our government does not allow it. So there's just a slightly different playstyle depending on what type you pick. Envoys are characters you use to perform different tasks. Merchants are used to collect income from trade and steer trade. Colonists are used to found new colonies. Diplomats are used to perform diplomatic actions. Missionaries are used to convert the religion of a province. Envoys will return when they have finished performing their tasks. You can have 3 resources which combined are called monarch points. These are administrative power, diplomatic power, and military power. You gain monarch points each month, and the amount depends on your rulers and your advisors' skills. So we've got administrative power, diplomatic power, and military power. Again, combined, those are called monarch points. Alerts notify you about information that you might want to do something about. Left-clicking on an alert will take you to where you can do something about it, while right-clicking the alert will hide it. Red alerts are urgent, yellow alerts are important, and green alerts are non-urgent. The diplomatic offers from other countries will also appear here. So we've got 3 not important things. You can hire a free military leader, we have no mission selected right now, and we have a couple free advisor slots. The production interface is designed to help you make production more efficient and easy to use. You can learn more about it in the basic tutorial. That's that button right there again. Holy Roman Screen allows you to see which nation is the Holy Roman Emperor. who the electors are, and also view all the member states. So right here. So we can see right now that Austria is the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. They have 20% imperial authority. If we, the character, the player, were to become emperor, these are the bonuses that you get for being the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. You get increased advisors, one more leader that doesn't cost anything to maintain, higher diplomatic relations. You can also do these diplomatic actions on people. These are the electors, people who get to vote, and then these are the people who are members but do not get to vote. The papacy gives you information about the current Curia controller and allows you to spend papal influence on trying to win cardinals to your side. The Curia controller is the nation that controls the most cardinals. So we have right now 0.6 papal influence. This is increased over time based on the papal state's opinion of us, whether we're at peace or not, how much prestige we have, how much religious unity we have, and then the buildings that we have throughout our empire. These are the current cardinals and their ages. When a cardinal dies, like say for example if de Lannoy here succumbs to the the afterlife, the top-ranked person, well, it's going to tell us in a second. Let's just read it. Actually, it doesn't tell us here. Well, what ends up happening is that the next person gets voted up, and the more we vote for them, we can buy them and basically get them in our back pocket. The Outliner helps you by giving you fast information about the progress and statuses of armies, navies, buildings, envoys, and more. You can customize what information you want to see by right-clicking the icon. So left-click will make it go away. Right-click will bring out this, and then we can toggle these items. So if we don't want to know about merchants, we can just turn them off. If we're playing in multiplayer and we want to see... Apparently I'm called Mr. Human. That's the default name, I guess, for the demo. Score represents how well your nation is doing and is divided into 3 categories. The categories are administrative, diplomatic, and military. You can view score comparison in the ledger to see what gives you score. So right now we're ranked 9th. If we hover right there, we can see actual, like how we are in each of the 3. We're currently gaining 0.832 score each month due to being 3rd in administrative rank, 9th in diplomatic, and 77th in military. So that's kind of low. Map modes will change the information given to you on the world map. The next chapter will go through them in more detail. Map modes are a tool to help you get better information, or better get information about the world you play in. The default map mode is the terrain map mode. Click next to continue. The political map mode will color all the provinces in different colors, one for each nation. The political map mode can make it easier to see borders and where a nation has provinces around the world. So for instance, Portugal, for example, has land over here. See how it's green? We can't actually see it, but some of this land is going to be owned by Portugal, or it will be at some point. The trade map mode shows you which provinces belong to what trade zone. In addition, it also shows you where trade flows, and it is here you order your merchants to steer trade in a certain direction. You'll learn more about trade steering later. So you got these little arrows that indicate which direction trade is flowing. The Imperial map mode shows which provinces belong to the Holy Roman Empire. Dark green provinces are Imperial provinces. That would be these. Lighter green are the electors. So we've got these guys here. The brightest green is the Emperor, Austria. You may notice that some of your provinces they belong to the Empire, while you as Venice do not. So I'm not a part, but part of my land does. So if we go back to that map mode here, we can go back to political. Actually, let's go to... it's actually not letting me see all of them. The one that I like to use quite often is the... not colonial... what is it called? Diplomatic map mode. There we go. So I can see green is the land that we control. And then if we go back to the Imperial map mode, we can see that some of this land falls within the Holy Roman Empire. The religious map mode shows you the spread of religion around the world. This will make it easy to see which provinces are not of your state religion and where you might find friends or foes. Diplomatic map mode gives you information about where your cores are, who your allies are, and where your enemies are. The green stripes show you your core provinces that you do not own. So, for instance, this province here, see those green stripes? Corfu? The owner of this is who? Corfu itself considers it to be a core. Byzantium considers it to be a core. And then we also consider it to be a core. However, we do not control Corfu. There are many more map modes to help you get information about what is going on in the game. Try clicking the More Map Modes button and have a look. So that's that number that I was clicking. This concludes this chapter. The next chapter will go through trade in more detail. Trade is an important part of Europa Universalis 4. The world is divided up into different trade nodes, with each having a different number of provinces in them. Provinces produce different trade goods, and trade value of those goods is transported to their respective trade nodes. Trade nodes are visible on the map as either floating buoys or cities, and they have light blue stripes connecting each other. So there's a buoy. Or if we go to a city, you can see right there, that's a trade node. Click Venezia to continue. A good portion of trade power in a trade node comes from provinces and can be improved by building trade buildings. Certain provinces are important centers of trade, or they have a river estuary. Both of these give a bonus to trade power. Your capital province, Venezia, is an example of a province that is an important center of trade and has a river estuary. Click there. The trade value in a trade node comes from the provinces that trade there. You can either collect income from the trade value or steer the trade to the next trade node. Trade power is a very important value that determines how much of the trade in a trade node you control. The more trade you control, the more income you can collect, or the more trade value you can transport forwards. Click next. Your merchants can perform two different actions in a trade node. Collect from trade requires that you own a province in that trade node and will collect income from trade. The amount of trade power you have compared to your competitors determines how many ducats you gain in trade income. So I'm going to explain it a little bit more detail here because I got lost when I was at this point in the tutorial. I had to hover over everything and try to figure it out. So right now we're looking at the Venice trade node. We're going to have our merchant collect from trade. Let's take this guy and send him there. Now, this lists all the countries that participate in the trade node. Here you can see whether they have a merchant present or not. Here you can see what that merchant is doing. So these guys are collecting. The merchants of Venice collect 293 from this trade node. Out of this they managed to create an income of 3.66. We have trade efficiency, which is boosting it by a certain amount. We can see the income score there as well. This is how many light ships are guarding the trade route. We're going to get to that in a moment. This is the province's trade power. So how much trade power we get from having provinces that border the trade zone. So again, if we go back to the trade map mode, see how Venice is this big trade zone? This does not represent our land. We are not all of this, but this is the Venice trade zone. So every province in this trade zone will give you some trade power. From there, it gets multiplied by a number of increases or decreases. You've got trade efficiency. If you're a merchant republic, you get bonuses. Your prestige, your stability, how efficient your trade is. If people are embargoing you, it'll cost you trade power here. So basically, 33.3 times 1.51.8, or 1.518, ends up being 67.5. So that's our total trade power, which then reflects we control 40% of all trade power in this trade zone. So we're getting 40% of whatever's going on here, basically. 100% of the trade value is being retained, meaning that it's not being pushed forward to another trade zone. And in 2 days, we'll have our guy there to collect taxes. Let's keep him. Sure. Have merchant collect trade in the trade zone to continue. All right. The second action that your merchant can perform is transfer trade power. This will transfer trade value from one trade node to another. The amount of trade power you have compared to your competitors determines how much trade value is transferred. Select Alexandria province and then click the button to go to the trade node. Remember to unpause the game. So we can follow the arrow. We're going to look at this trade zone. And then it wants us to have a merchant transfer trade power to continue. Transfer trade power, Vitali. Okay, I'm going to unpause, and we've got to wait 39 days for him to get there. Alright, so now he's there. Okay, the trade map mode shows you where the different trade nodes are, which provinces belong to them, and also how trade is steered. As you can see here, you are now steering trade from Alexandria to Venice. Trade can only flow in the direction the arrows are pointing. Trade cannot be steered away from Venice or Antwerpen. Trade power determines how much trade value is transferred from one trade node to another. So if we go back to this again, we can see that right now 66% of trade power in this trade node is keeping it in the trade node. 34% is trying to pull it forward into a different trade zone. So basically think about it like this. My goal is to steer as much of the wealth from this trade zone up into Venice, where I collect my revenue. So I'm using all my power to pull it towards our trade zone. Right now we only have 6.8 trade power because we don't really have much land here. We have Crete as part of the trade zone. So we control this county, so we get a little bit of trade power from that. We're also getting some... Find Venice. We're also getting a small amount from having our merchant here. And then we've got 61.8% modifiers because of all of our rules and stuff. Trade power directly affects how large portion of trade, a little typo there. In a trade node you control, trade power comes from provinces and from light ships that are protecting trade. There are also ideas and a diplomatic advisor that can affect global trade power. Select your ships in the port of Venezia. Grab those boats. Light ships can be ordered to protect trade. This means they will patrol the trade node and increase the amount of trade power you have in that node. Having your ships protect trade is very important for increasing trade income. That's that button there. Now, this isn't in the tutorial, but my experience so far has been that you're better off taking, instead of having all of your light ships just protect one node, you're better off kind of splitting them up. So for instance, we could split these boats and have 3 of them protect Venice, and then have the other 2 protect Alexandria. We'll get the most income from it by doing it that way. The easiest way of increasing your trade power is by building more light ships and having them protect trade. Barks that are protecting trade increase your trade power in that trade node by 3. Go to the production interface. Each bark protecting trade increases trade power by 3. Higher level light ships have higher trade power. Select bark from the list to the left and click on the green provinces in the map mode to start building them. Build 5 light ships to continue. So we're going to build a few barks. And then we'll unpause and just wait for those to tick up. Alright, this concludes the end of the trade chapter of the tutorial. Hopefully you have gained a better grasp of how trade works in EU4. Click exit to go back to the tutorial menu. So that's that. Okay, so I'm going to take a break here, and I'll see you again in the final little, final one. We've got one last tutorial to do in the demo here. It's the Spanish Empire Beginner Campaign. We're going to cover the Reconquista, the Spanish Inquisition, and A New World. So I'll see you in a little bit. Thanks for watching. See you soon.